Hey, you've landed in a cool spot today. Forget rolling initiative for dragons for a bit. We're diving deep into a tabletop RPG that's got this fantastic, eerie vibe.
Yeah, which one?
It might have flown under your radar. Vaesen Nordic horror role-playing.
Ah, Vaesen. Yeah, that's a good one.
Think about unearthing, like, a forgotten horror gem from the 80s,
Yeah.
something VHS era that just totally grips you.
Okay, I like that comparison. That's the feel we're going for here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're like us and you're always hunting for something beyond the typical fantasy quest, something that just drips with a sense of place and like chilling folklore.
Right.
Almost like if the X-Files set up shop a century earlier in the world of the Brothers Grimm,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
then you're going to really enjoy this look at Vaesen.
So the core of this whole thing, the world you're stepping into, it's 19th century Scandinavia.
They call it the Mythic North.
The Mythic North. Yeah, it's perfect. Imagine those misty landscapes you see in old paintings, these tiny villages clinging to really ancient traditions.
And then you've got this early industrial age kind of creeping in and, well, unsettling the old ways.
And the twist.
And guess what? The creepy creatures from Nordic folklore, the Vaesen themselves, they're totally real in this setting.
Whoa, okay.
Most people can't see them, thankfully, but that's where your characters come in.
That's your hook.
Yeah,
Your characters have the sight.
the sight.
It's this unique, often pretty unsettling ability that lets you perceive these hidden Vaesen.
Okay.
And because of this, you become part of the society, this sort of secret organization based in Uppsala.
Right, the headquarters.
Your mission, basically, is to investigate the strange, often terrifying things these Vaesen are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Protect the people who can't defend themselves, and ultimately try to figure out what makes these entities tick.
Now, don't go in thinking this is just another, like, monster of the week kind of game.
No, definitely not.
Forget grabbing your broadsword first, although, hey, you can try.
You can try.
But be warned, it probably won't go the way you expect. Vaesen often feel more like these primal forces, maybe spirits tied to specific locations or some ancient wrong.
Exactly. They're not just beasts to slay.
The real meat of the game, for you, is going to be the investigation, piecing together the clues behind their appearances,
Finding out why they're acting up.
and figuring out the specific, often ancient ritual needed to deal with them. Think less Conan.
Right?
And more like trying to figure out how not to cross the streams when you're dealing with a nasty poltergeist, right?
Yeah, like Egon Stengler knew his stuff. It's about the specific solution, not brute force.
Totally.
That investigative angle really shines through right from character creation, actually. You're not just picking stats. You're crafting someone with a history.
Okay, how so?
Well, you choose an archetype first. Are you the insightful academic digging through dusty tomes?
Or the pragmatic hunter, maybe? Skilled in tracking.
Yeah. Or the mysterious occultist dabbling in forbidden knowledge. Maybe even the sharp-witted private detective navigating the shadowy streets.
Lots of options.
Each gives you a really distinct starting point, a base to build from.
And this is where it gets a little different from some other games. Age actually matters.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
When you pick young, middle-aged, or old, it's not just flavor text. It actually affects your starting levels in your core attributes.
Ah, like physique, precision, logic, empathy. Those core stats.
Exactly. How strong you are, how deft, how smart, how perceptive. But it also balances out with your skills.
What?
Things you've learned and practiced, like investigation, stealth, medicine, or even manipulation.
So it's a trade-off.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
A younger character might have more raw potential and attributes, maybe, while an older one brings a lifetime of experience, higher skills.
That's cool. Makes you think about who your character really is.
Right. It adds depth from the get-go.
And what's fascinating for you as a player is how the game weaves in personal narrative right from the start, too.
Oh, yeah. Beyond the numbers.
Definitely. You define why your character is even involved in this dangerous work. That's their motivation.
Okay. Makes sense?
You also figure out the trauma, that specific event that gifted or maybe cursed them with the sight.
Right. The origin story for their weird ability, probably not pleasant.
Probably not. It's formative and likely pretty unsettling. And then there's the dark secret.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's something hidden in their past that the game master can bring into play to really ramp up the drama.
Oh, man. The dark secret. It's like having your own personal story bomb ticking in the background. I love that kind of stuff.
Me too. And the relationships between your characters, They're crucial.
Oh, so?
You're not just a random party of adventurers bumping into each other in a tavern.
Right, you need a reason to stick together.
These connections, that sense of having each other's backs when things get truly weird, it feels straight out of those classic 80s kid adventure movies.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like, the Goodies relying on each other.
Exactly. Or the tight bond between the friends in Stand By Me when they'd face something way bigger than themselves.
Yeah, that shared experience, facing the unknown together. It matters.
And even the initial gear you get and that personal memento you choose are tied to your character's story.
A memento, like a keepsake.
Yeah, something significant from your past. It isn't just a trinket. It can actually help you recover your mental stability when you're faced with the horrors the Mythic North throws at you.
Wow, okay, so it has a mechanical benefit, too.
It does. It's all about making your character feel like a real person living in this eerie, folklore-infused world, grounding them.
Okay, so you've got this unique character with their own baggage and connections. What does a typical session look like for you? How does it play out?
Well, it revolves around these things called mysteries. And it's a really engaging cycle, actually.
Nope.
Kind of, yeah.
Mm.
It kicks off with the briefing.
Oh.
You're at the society headquarters in Uppsala, maybe catching up on rumors,
Right, the base.
when a new case lands on your desk. Perhaps a desperate letter from a remote village?
Or like a weird newspaper article.
Yeah, hinting at something more sinister. Or maybe even hushed whispers from a contact who's seen something they can't explain.
Classic adventure hook. Pulls you right in.
Then comes the journey. Now, travel in Vaesen isn't just a throwaway line about getting from A to B.
Oh,
It matters more.
it can, yeah. How you prepare for the journey, the choices you make along the way, can actually grant you a temporary advantage when you arrive at your destination.
Huh. So getting there is part of the challenge, potentially.
It makes the travel feel like a meaningful part of the investigation, not just dead air between scenes.
Nice touch. Okay, then you arrive.
And this is where you really get to dig in. The investigation itself.
Right, boots on the ground.
You'll be exploring creepy, atmospheric locations, interviewing the locals who might be helpful, scared, or maybe even actively trying to mislead you,
Always fun.
and searching for clues. This is where those skills like investigation and observation become super important.
Got to use those character skills. Finding these clues isn't just about moving the story forward. It's absolutely vital for understanding the specific Vaesen you're dealing with. And crucially, for uncovering the ancient ritual needed to resolve the situation.
Back to the ritual. That seems key.
It usually is.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the confrontation.
Dun 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 dun.
Haha, yeah. That's where things usually go from unsettling to downright terrifying. You come face to face with the Vaesen.
Okay, so now we fight.
Well, while fighting is an option, and let me tell you, it could be pretty brutal and unforgiving.
Good to know.
The main objective is usually to perform that ritual you've painstakingly pieced together from your clues.
Right, the clever solution, not just hacking it.
You might be trying to banish the Vaesen, appease it, maybe even trick it using its own weaknesses against it.
So they have weaknesses, like folklore stuff?
Often, yeah. These aren't just mindless monsters. They often have their own motivations,
Yeah.
however strange and alien they might seem.
And they fight back, presumably.
Oh, definitely. They can fight back with some seriously creepy magic illusions, curses, stuff that messes with your perception and your sanity.
Yikes. Sounds intense.
It can be. And after you've faced the supernatural and hopefully survived,
Fingers crossed.
you head back to Uppsala for the debrief and downtime.
The aftermath. Catch your breath.
Exactly. You get a chance to recover from any physical or mental scars.
Yeah.
These are represented by conditions in the game.
Conditions, okay. Like being hurt or scared.
Yeah. Exhausted, wounded, frightened, hopeless. We'll get to those. And you get to spend the experience points you've earned.
Leveling up. Or skilling up.
Skilling up, yeah. Improve your skills or learn new talents, making you a little more capable for the next terrifying mystery that comes your way.
Cool. So that's the gameplay loop. Now, the engine that powers all this. The mechanics.
Right, the nuts and bolts of how you actually play. It's the Year Zero engine.
Heard of that? Used in other games too, right?
Yeah, several Free League games use it. It's really elegant and designed to keep the focus on the story.
How does it work here?
When you want to do something risky or challenging, the GM will call for a skill test. You grab a handful of six-sided dice, D6s,
Standard dice?
equal to your character's relevant attribute score plus their skill level in whatever you're doing.
Okay. Attribute plus skill equals dice pool. Got it.
And it's super straightforward. Every die that rolls a 6-4 is a success.
Just sixes.
Just sixes. Usually just one six is enough to succeed at what you're trying to do.
Okay. Simple enough.
If you roll multiple sixes, that indicates an exceptional success. You really nailed it. It's designed to be quick, intuitive, and keep the action flowing.
But here's where things get really interesting, I bet, where that tension ratchets up, pushing your luck.
Ah, yes. The push mechanic. Crucial.
Tell me about it. Sounds risky.
It is. If you fail a roll, or if you desperately need more successes to avoid a really bad outcome, you can choose to push yourself.
But there's always a cost, right?
Always.
Yeah.
You have to take on a condition those things we mentioned, like being exhausted, wounded, frightened, or hopeless.
So you get weaker, essentially.
Yeah, think of these as not just describing your character's state, but also imposing a Mexa 1 die penalty on future rolls of that type. Physical conditions affect physique rolls, mental affect logic or empathy, etc.
Okay, so taking a condition hurts you going forward. Then what?
After taking that condition, you get to re-roll all the dice in your pool that didn't come up as a 6 on the first roll.
Ah, a second chance. But you're already hurt or scared.
Exactly. It's this fantastic risk-reward mechanic. It injects so much nail-biting tension into those crucial moments.
I can see that. Do you risk getting more messed up for that one shot at success?
Precisely. It feels like those high-stakes decisions you make in the best RPG sessions, or like a tense scene in a horror movie.
Yeah, totally.
And these conditions aren't just minor inconveniences, they really impact your character.
They stack up.
They do. Being wounded isn't just losing some abstract hit points. It's a narrative element that affects your ability to perform physical tasks effectively. Same for mental conditions.
And if you get too many?
If you accumulate too many conditions of the same type, get 4 of them, your character becomes broken.
Broken. What does that mean?
Either physically incapacitated or mentally shattered, depending on the type of condition. The consequences can be significant and long-lasting.
Wow. Okay, so danger is real.
Very real. It really emphasizes the toll this kind of work takes on your character. It's not heroic fantasy where you bounce back easily.
And because this is Nordic horror, there's got to be fear mechanics, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know there are going to be fear tests.
When do those happen?
When you come face-to-face with a Vaesen or witness something truly horrific that defies explanation, something that shakes your understanding of reality.
Okay, how do they work?
You're going to have to make a roll against your character's logic or empathy, usually, trying to rationalize it or cope emotionally.
If you fail?
If you fail, you become terrified.
Terrified. What happens then?
This can manifest in all sorts of nasty ways, usually resulting in gaining mental conditions like frightened or hopeless. Maybe you freeze, maybe you panic.
So seeing the monsters can literally break your mind.
It really nails that feeling of dread, that psychological impact of encountering something utterly unnatural and terrifying. It's the kind of creeping dread you'd get watching those classic slow burn horror films from the 80s.
Yeah, I get that. It sounds like the whole system is geared towards that atmosphere.
I think so. What's so compelling about Vaesen for us, I think, is that the central conflicts aren't always about direct combat.
Right, more about the unknown.
There's this constant unsettling tension between the mundane, everyday reality of 19th century life and this hidden world of dangerous folklore that's just beneath the surface.
The seen versus the unseen, kinda.
Exactly. It creates this pervasive feeling that something isn't quite right, a sense of unease. It reminds you of those unsettling moments in movies like Poltergeist, before the paranormal activity really kicks off.
Yeah, or like the growing sense of dread in Gremlins as things slowly spiral out of control.
Totally. That feeling of normalcy being peeled back to reveal something weird and dangerous underneath.
And you mentioned the setting, the 19th century. There's that clash too, right?
Yeah, you've got this really interesting push and pull between the old ways of life and the rapid advancements of the industrial age.
Like trains and factories starting to appear.
Exactly. New factories are being built, new technologies are emerging, and often this progress is disturbing the ancient balance and stirring up the Vaesen.
Ah, so human progress is causing problems for the supernatural world.
Often, yeah. It's that classic theme of tradition clashing with modernity, but with a really spooky, folklore-infused twist. The old spirits don't like the changes.
That adds another layer. And personally for the characters.
On a more personal level, the character's own traumas and dark secrets add these incredible layers of internal conflict and vulnerability.
Right, the stuff you picked at character creation.
Yeah, you're not just dealing with external threats, you're also grappling with your own inner demons and the lingering effects of your past.
Makes them feel more real.
It makes the characters feel so much more real and relatable, even when they're facing unbelievable horrors. It gives them weak spots the GM can use.
And is it always clear who the bad guys are? Are the Vaesen always evil?
That's another great point. It's not a simple case of good versus evil.
Oh.
The Vaesen aren't always malicious. Sometimes they're just acting according to their nature, which clashes with humans. And sometimes the problems they're causing are actually rooted in human actions.
Like breaking a promise or desecrating a sacred spot. Exactly. You're often confronted with these morally ambiguous situations where there isn't a clear right or wrong answer.
So you have to make tough choices.
It forces you to make some really tough ethical choices. Maybe the monster is actually the victim in some way.
Wow. That kind of moral complexity sticks with you long after the game session ends, doesn't it?
It really does. It elevates it beyond just a creature feature.
Okay, so wrapping up. Who is this game really for?
Well, I'd say if you're looking for a tabletop RPG that delivers a truly atmospheric and narrative-driven horror experience, definitely sounds atmospheric.
Something that dives deep into rich Nordic folklore and really emphasizes investigation, puzzle solving, and clever thinking over just hacking and slashing.
Yeah, the ritual focus.
And Vaesen is absolutely worth checking out.
Yeah, it's got this incredibly compelling, almost melancholic atmosphere that's really unique in the TTRPG landscape, I think.
Agreed.
The mechanics sound straightforward enough to pick up quickly, like the Year Zero engine usually is. Pretty intuitive.
But they create these really tense, meaningful choices that impact the story. It's way more than just rolling dice. It's about uncovering these dark secrets and dealing with the often dire consequences.
Yeah.
For anyone who's a fan of horror RPGs with a strong investigative element, or maybe if you've just got a fascination with folklore and mythology,
It's perfect for that.
Vaesen seems like a fantastic game. Honestly, it feels like the kind of dark, atmospheric world that could have easily inspired some seriously moody, low-budget horror films back in the 80s.
Oh, totally. The kind that become cult classics. Exactly. The ones people still talk about today.
And that makes you think, doesn't it? As a final thought,
Yeah.
What forgotten stories, what local legends might still linger unseen in the world around you right now?
Ooh, creepy thought.
What unsettling tales might be just beneath the surface of your own familiar surroundings? It's something to ponder, maybe even to explore in your own way, long after our deep dive here is done.